Hello everyone, welcome back to another video in the React.js tutorial series. In this video, we are going to discuss about how we are going to use forms in the React. So here you can see that I have created one new component called app and the application is already starting and running. Now what are we going to discuss is we are going to just read the create a form and try to keep that form as simple as that, like a contact form or login form, something, so that we know how to handle forms in React. Then we will be storing those content in the form, the state, then we'll just submit that. That's it. Okay, submitting in the sense we are not going to have any API as of now. We need a little more time. Maybe after completing hooks section, we'll be just starting with API related stuff. But as of now, this is the agenda for today's video. The video is all about creating a form, storing the form's data in the state, and then that's all. So here I'm having a division. So let me change this specific content to something else. Let's say have contact form. I plan for a contact form. So let's have a contact form here. So within this contact form, what am I going to do is I'm going to create one form. So form, not going to have anything, just to the form. And let me have a label tag, and in this label tag I just call it as username, maybe our name. Okay, I just name, and then input type should be like text, and of course I'm having username here, ID as well as a username. This is one set. Let me copy paste because I need a message and then email. Okay, so let's have email here as well, email, and then email. Then let me change here to message. That's it. I'm not using text to area here. I just use a text to box. If you want, you can just change it. Shouldn't be an issue at all. I just wanted to keep it as simple as that. So once this part is completed, I can have a button. So this button is like submit message, like submit, and I need to have the type as submit button. That's it. So I have a form, simple contact form, and the user will be filling this form and then submit it. Since this is the form, I just wanted to add some validations here. So I call it as required. Same way I will be adding the same required attribute to other fields as well. So once this specific area is completed, I have a form which is ready. You can see that name, email, message. And when I click on submit, obviously it will ask for the fill out field. It will be. That's what the purpose of having a required attribute here. And keep in mind, this required attribute works only within the form tag. Let me change this to email as well. Now till this, whatever we did is nothing but just to the JavaScript related, HTML related stuff. Now we are getting into the React specific. First and foremost, let me create a state. Why we need state? Because whatever the data user entered into this form, I just wanted to capture that within a state. It is okay to create state variable for each field, but that's not a good practice. So what am I going to do is I'm going to create only one state, and then I'll be using that state to update all the values within that state itself as an object. Let's see how we can do so. Let me create a state here, constant. I just call it as contact form, or else you can say that contact form detail or something like that. That's based on your respective fields. I'm just keeping it as contact form, and I'll be just taking something from use state, and this state is actually imported from React. So now what I do is, as of now, the form is actually empty. You can see that the object, the default state is by default empty, but I'm going to have few fields within that object. So first, username, empty string, email as well empty, and then I will be having a message. So as of now, I'm having a state. that state object contains three different fields: username, email, and then the message with the default value. Now let's try to embed the state variables into this fields respectively. So first I will be getting into the username field. Let's have a value attribute. Where does that value coming from? The value actually coming from contact form dot whatever the field name we have given. So that's how you need to create. So this part is completed. Let's have value attribute and same way contact form dot email. Likewise to the message. So value contact form dot message. So all this are completed as of now with username, email, and then the message. So what would be the default value? The default value is empty. You can see here. Now you can see the form is still empty. Of course, to make it work, we can just add some dummy data here and see if it is populate or not. You can see I'm getting the dummy data. Okay, so this clearly states that the form actually got binded to the state variable. Let me remove all of the default data. I don't want any default data for the form. I'm going to create different handler. One is for form submit handler, another one is for text box change handler. So let me create a function constant handle submit. This function is good. Likewise handle change. Now whenever the form is submit, okay, I wanted to call handle submit method. Likewise whenever the text box data gets changed on change, I wanted to invoke handle change method. Just copy the same code, paste in all the text boxes. That's all. So the basic setup for the data that we are going to catch is completed. Now whenever the form is submitted, what I have to do? If I fill something, you can say I'm not getting anything. Actually I'm typing. You might not able to hear the sound that I'm typing here, but actually I'm typing. Let me see. Okay, but it doesn't populate anything in the text box. Why? Because as of now the value attribute contains or else target the state's respective variables properties. Okay, the object property. As of now the property value is actually empty, and that's why the text box doesn't have any data even though if you are typing. If you implement the change functionality, in that case the state object get updated. Once it is getting updated, then obviously you'll be having the data that get populated onto the text box. Let's see how you can do so. Whenever there is an event and you are passing a function as an callback, in that case it will be passing the event, whatever the event, by default to the function. So I'm getting that event. What am I going to do is, this is an object, the event is an object, e dot target. Okay, this going to give me two different property. One is nothing but the name property, another one is the value property. What is this name and what is this property? Name is nothing but the field name, whatever the field that actually getting changed. Value is nothing but the value property of that text box. Okay, so we got the data. I try to print those in the screen, name comma value. Okay, so let's get back to the screen, opening inspect element. Now clearing the screen. Let me try to type something. You can see right, username ASD. Now going back to email. Now F. You can see email F, that printed for 3 times. Now getting back to message, let's have a message. You can see right. So this clearly demonstrated that on change event on the form is actually working as expected. So the field name and then the data that I'm entering, it is actually getting populated in the console screen. So I can have the access of the data that is being entered by the user. Now what I can do is, let's update state with the help of set contact form. So I'll be having set contact form. This set contact form is a function that actually update the data that already present in the form. So let's have a function that's nothing but an object. Okay, so based on this object only we are actually modifying the data. Now what I do is this specific object will get updated based on the value that we got from the event object. So of course we can do so, but how do you handle the old data? Of course we will be handling them little later, but let's see. Square bracket and the name comma value. We will just set it out, and this is the handle change, right? So as of now I'm just updating the state. That is well and good, but we wanted to make sure how this update is working, right? We wanted to understand. So let's try to understand what my code does. So once the data is filled, I'm updating the contact form state then and there, and once that is done, user will be submitting the form. So whenever user submits, I wanted to print whatever the data that is available in the contact form as it is. I don't want it to change anything. I just wanted to print as it is. Let me get back to the browser screen, clear the terminal. Now the terminal is clear. Let me type name, my name. I'm getting error. That is fine. No issues. Leave that error as it is. And then email test.asa.com, and then message. I can call it as message. That's it. Okay. That's it. I'm again clearing the screen and submit. Now you can see nothing has happened. The form actually got cleared, but nothing got updated in the screen. Why does that happen? That's how form in the application works. Okay, so that's how it works, because that's the default behavior of the form tag in the HTML. So how shall I stop the default behavior? As like handle change event, submit is also a handler that actually handles form submit event. By default, the event object get passed here, and this event object has a access to prevent default method. This prevent default method stops the default behavior of the form. Now I can go to the browser screen, fill the details. Okay, the form is filled with the default details. I'm just clicking on submit button. Now you can say I'm getting the data. But the problem here is now I didn't get a refresh of the form. Keep that in mind. The form doesn't get refresh at all. The form data is not yet removed, but the state data, whatever I'm having, right, that got updated with the latest data, not with the older one. Example, I have 3 different text boxes. So the first text box is name, email, and then the message respectively. So message was the last text box that got updated, and only that data got perceived in the state. That's not the right practice. Why does that happen? That's because we are blindly updating the form based on the name attribute value as well as with the text box value. So what does this happens is it doesn't have any code. I didn't tell React to maintain older state. I just update the state, that's it. So how shall I do so? And that's where we wanted to change the code a little bit. Let's try to change the code. First, let's have one variable called x, and then this is kind of a callback function. I'm just passing the callback function. Okay, and this callback function will be having one statement. That statement will keep the already existing data along with the new data. Okay, now what does this x means for? This is just the variable that by default holds the contact form state data, already data. Okay, the existing data. You can change the name, whatever it is. Okay, that's up to you. Now I have modified the code. Let's get back to the screen. Let me submit. You can see still the message is there. Why? Because I have to refresh. because I have to completely fill the form again, right? That's those everything is a default behavior. Now let me again fill the data. Okay, I'm clicking on submit. Now you can see username, email, and then the message is actually getting updated appropriately, whatever the way that we wanted. If I change the message to 1 2 3 4 or something and hit on submit button, you can see email username is still perceived. This is because of this. So what actually here am I doing is, I'm just trying to explain. Okay, I just destructuring this code in a little more easier way. Set contact form, this state, it's a function. Okay, this is the function. We already discussed what the state is all about. If you are haven't comfortable with that, please go back to the state video, try to understand them, and then get back here. This is the function. This function accept another function as a parameter, and this is nothing but the callback function. So this callback function by default gets a parameter, this, and this x parameter going to have the state data, the older state, whatever the current state. Okay, whatever the current state. Now within this curly braces, the callback function code, what I do is I'll just update the contact form data. So the contact form is actually the state. The state is of type object. So let's have an object. This object already contains might be. It might contain some data already. We might not know, right? Because we have 3 different properties. Someone could have entered name first and then they entered message. Some user might be entering message first and then to the email. I don't want to miss any of them. So what I do is, whatever the state that already has, I just wanted to keep it as it is. So x is the variable that actually hold the current state data, whatever the current value of that state, and along with that I wanted to keep current field value likewise. Okay, if you look at it here, I got this name and value from e.target. What does it mean? It means, so e.target is an object. From that object I'm just extracting, destructuring that target object and ask it to give me only name and value. This name represents the field name. This value represents the value property attribute value. That's it. This one, to be more precise, this value, this and this I'm trying to ask. So what they do, I will be getting this and then this value. Okay, and then I'm passing it here. I'm getting error. Yes, I'm getting error. Why? Because I'm just having a key here. There is no value. I don't want it to change anything in the previous. I just do the spread operator. This spread operator by default, okay, this is spread operator by default spread the data. Okay, spread the already available object, and along with that object I'm just updating any data that is already in the state as the name value. I just wanted to update that with the latest value attribute. That's it. Nothing specific, nothing harder. Hope this is clear to everyone. Yeah, of course this will be clear to everyone, and if you didn't get this, okay, please let me know in the chat section. I'll be able to answer them. Okay, yeah. So now you can see, I'm having a return. Why does I'm returning? Because I'm returning because this is the function, right? The data, the updated state that's supposed to get returned from the callback function, so that my state variable get updated. That's how it should work. Hope this is clear. Okay, this is how the code works, and this is just the shorthand version of whatever that I have written and explained here. Now we don't need this highlighted code because we have already done it here, right? Now we have done how to handle the form in React. Of course, whatever the type of form you are having, the validation needs to be added and those stuffs are there. Here I just made it with very simple validation with the help of required attribute, but you can have some other states, like one is for error state, another one is for form state. Let's say example, how does you know whether the form is submitted or not? Example, once user clicks on a submit button, you wanted to show the load symbol and then you wanted to show whether the form is submitted or not. How will you do so? So you wanted to maintain a separate state that handle the status. Once user clicks on the button, you have to show the load button, and once you get the response from the server API, then you will be just have to stop them. That's how you need to do. This example is actually the starting for the forms, and of course whatever that you are doing you can do with the states. Okay, loading, of course you can have a separate state that will handle the state of the form, and that's how it usually works, and that's how the React forms are working. And keep that in mind, this is just the HTML form. There are many different React form libraries, many different things are there, but whatever it may be, the code always looks like the similar one. Okay, hope this is clear to everyone. Let's catch up in the next video. Till then, bye, take care.